All right, good afternoon. I'm very excited to be here with Mr. Gene Walker. Gene is running for school board in District 9, and we are so excited as part of Vote School Board First that you've taken the time this afternoon to share a little information and make sure that the voters know a little bit about you, Mr. Walker. So with that, I'm just going to open it up to some questions. And of course, by all means, take a moment if you'd like to introduce yourself, but just want to let you know. So we'll start out first just with a pretty broad question, but why are you running for school board?
Yeah, Caitlin, thanks. I'm thankful to the Vote School Board first folks for putting this together. Especially during COVID when it's just hard to get information. This may be the best way to do it. So I am Gene Walker, and I'm running for school board for District 9, which includes parts of the north side, Observatory Hill, Summer Hill, Perry Hilltop, Brighton Heights, and then most of our West End communities, and then the half a dozen or so schools that are encompass those. And so just briefly, I am born and raised here in Pittsburgh, grew up in East Liberty, graduated from Peabody High School, and moved away to go to college, and came back in 2009 to work with the Pittsburgh Promise. And I am married to my wife that I met while we were in college, and we have two children, Brady, who graduated from SciTech in 2019, and Isabel, who's graduating in about 7 weeks. And so I am running, that's kind of the quick and dirty of who I am. But I'm running for school board for lots of reasons, but mostly because I believe in public education, specifically Pittsburgh Public Schools. And so being a graduate of Pittsburgh Public Schools, working alongside them during my time at the Promise, and having two students and children coming through the school district, I really see the value and potential of Pittsburgh Public Schools. And I want to work to make sure that we continue to move Pittsburgh Public Schools in the direction that provides the highest quality education for all of our kids, but with a specific focus on our Black and brown kids who oftentimes are left behind. And so I'm a fan of public schools. That's the kind of quick and dirty of it. And I know that with all of the good that we have, we also need to be conscious of the things that we're not doing well, and have leadership in place who is positioned and willing to take on those fights to improve the things that we need to improve. And so that's really why I'm running. I see Pittsburgh Public Schools in a critical spot where tough decisions are going to have to be made, and it's going to take really bold and ambitious leadership to move the district in the way that it needs to go. And so for me now was the time to not sit on the sidelines and complain, but get into the race and try to make a difference.
Thank you so much, Gene, and congratulations to your daughter on her upcoming graduation, and to you and your wife. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
So another question for you is, how do you deal with the budget deficit moving forward?
So, that's a tough question. But it's a big question, right? We have here in Pittsburgh, for those that don't know, a $673 million budget, give or take a couple of million bucks, with another $125 to $150 million in grant funding. So we're looking at, upwards of $750 million, which is significantly larger than the city of Pittsburgh. And so it's a huge issue. But for me, it really starts with setting our priorities in the right place. And that starts with looking at how are we spending our money in a way that increases outcomes for our students. And so as we look at what a school board does, managing the budget is the first priority. So it first starts with pushing the superintendent and his administration to put forth a budget that addresses the educational needs of our students, but it's also balanced. Like, it's just basic finance to come to the table with a balanced budget, and then that allows you to be able to move within that. And so first we have to start at zero, right? We have to have a budget that's zeroed out before we begin moving forward. You know, my household, your household, Pittsburgh Public Schools, right? We can't work from a deficit mindset. So we can't work from a mindset of we're just going to figure it out later. Like we have to know up front. But ultimately it has to start with student outcomes at the center. And so that's where we start. And there are no areas of the budget that we can't look at. So in order to make change in a $750 million spending budget, we have to be willing to look at every component of that and look at it critically and make changes where we can and move on. So that's where we start. It starts with just being open and honest about how we're spending the money and where it's going.
Thank you, Gene. Next question for you is, how will you support English language learners and students who receive special education services in the district?
Yeah, that's a fabulous question, partially because of what I do for my day job. So my day job is I provide direct support for adults with intellectual disabilities. And so most of my week is spent figuring out how do we help individuals live their best life they can with whatever accommodations they might need. So first it starts with understanding the accommodations that may be necessary. And so if it's English as a second language accommodation, then we need to figure out how do we best work with those students as well as the families. And so in Pittsburgh, we are fortunate to have a wealth of post-secondary institutions that many of them have language departments. And so the first step is, like, if we don't have the expertise here in Pittsburgh Public Schools, let's partner with the folks that have expertise and bring that in. So it could be interpreters, which we should absolutely have at every meeting so that families who don't speak English naturally can participate. It can be making sure that all of our publications and all of our curriculum and all of our homeworks are written in a way that allows those students to understand it in their own language, but also begin to learn English so that they can better be a part of our community. But then it works both ways. We should also be employing folks who specialize in those areas so that we're not asking people to automatically assimilate into English. So on an English learning phase, that's where we'd start. Let's partner with the folks that do it really good. From our special education folks, like, again, it comes down to understanding and knowing that that special needs is a spectrum, right? They talk about the autism spectrum. All of this is a spectrum, and we can't lump all of our special needs and exceptional kids in the same category. And so we have to be able to specialize in those areas. And so again, that comes down to partnering with the organizations that do this work every day. And so if that means bringing in therapeutic staff support or behavioral specialists so that we can work with our young people who have different needs, we need to be willing to do that and open our classrooms to it. And then we need to recruit teachers and educators who are versed in that so that they can too be the experts so that we can have premier education for all of our students.
Thank you so much, Gene. What are your top priorities to improve the district? This is pretty broad.
It is. So I have three, and with a board of 9 folks, right, we're all going to come with 3 or 4, and so there's going to be 27, 30 different priorities. But my first and foremost priority is budget accountability. With so much money, most of it coming from Pittsburgh taxpayers, we need to be accountable for how we're using those resources, and then being able to show the results of that investment that we're putting in our kids. So it starts there. My philosophy with that is that your budget is the window to your priorities. And so you don't show me your priorities by telling me them, you show me by how you spend your money. And so we're going to tackle that first. Second is we have an opportunity to really work with the leadership around our city, both from a school district level, but from a local, state, and county level with our elected officials, with our nonprofit sector, with our for-profit businesses, to provide opportunities for collaboration so that our students in Pittsburgh get the same opportunities that our suburban schools get for their students. And so we have big universities and big business, and we have Google and UPMC, and we should all be working together to bring the resources to our kids to make sure that they have those opportunities. And so I'll work to unite those kind of and build those kind of partnerships. And then finally, and this may be the most important outside of the budget, is pushing the district to provide more stability in our leadership within our schools. And so our really successful schools have one thing in common. They have consistent leadership from a principal, assistant principal level. Our schools that struggle don't have that. So here in District 9, Perry High School has had a half a dozen principals in the last 10 years. And it really, from my perspective, is impossible to build momentum for a school if students come in every year and there's a different leader with a different vision and a different philosophy on how to run the school. And so we have to promote our schools to be areas where our principals are able to stay, to cast their vision, and then to implement that vision moving forward. And then long term, we have to work to build, attract, and retain a diverse workforce so that the school district with 55% minority Black and Brown students also has a workforce that more mirrors the student body.
Thank you so much, Gene. And we are coming down to our final time already. So I just wanted to give you the opportunity is for anything that you would like to share with the voters.
So yeah, thanks for that. I think, this year we are in a unique position. There are 5 school board races going on, and there are 12 or 13 folks vying for that. So we should feel fortunate as a city that we have so many people that are engaged in the process and willing to step into the arena to fight for change for our kids. But we're also at a really critical point with Pittsburgh Public Schools where some change needs to happen and some tough decisions need to happen. And so you don't make change unless you're willing to make change. And I'm running because I want to be part of that change. And we all want to fight for our kids. And so we need to be willing and able to do the things that put kids first and then supports our teachers in a way that allows them to put our kids first. And so if I'm elected, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get someone who has experience working across lots of different arenas and industries, someone who has a financial background that will be able to help navigate the complexities of our massive budget, but someone who stands firm in his convictions that if kids aren't at the center of a decision, we just don't make that decision. And so that's what I'm about. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of this. And just a reminder that anything that you see on kind of national news from a policy perspective probably started right here in your local area from a school district or city council race. And so, if you want to have an impact on those decisions that are being made nationally, make them here first with your vote, because that's where you're going to feel it and see it immediately. And I hope at the end of the day, when you see Gene Walker on the ballot, you put a check by his name, by my name, or kind of hit that button for me so that I can represent District 9 going forward.
Mr. Walker, thank you so much for your time and for sharing this really valuable information to the voters. So on behalf of Vote School Board First, I just really, again, like to thank you. And if you would like to learn more about Mr. Walker or read his questionnaire and to view this video again, you can visit voteschoolboardfirst.org, where you can learn about Mr. Walker and all of the other candidates that are running in this year's school board election. Thank you so much.
Thank you.